So what's going on guys, Kate here and welcome back to a brand new video. For today I will show you the best Paladin PVE build in Lost Ark. So in this guide I will show you what abilities and awakening skill you want to get, then I will explain what are the best engravings and cards to use for endgame content. And then lastly, I will show you the best gameplay and even which stats you need to allocate for PvE, so you would be able to be the best support with the best offensive and defensive buffs and much more. So no matter how low or high level or gear score your character is, you can easily use this build and follow the step-by-step guide. So if this sounds interesting to you, then let's get right into it. So, the Paladin mainly serves as a support class in groups and is highly requested role for endgame content. However, this does not mean that he is incapable of playing solo, because he has decent amount of AoE damage kills available from the start to speed up the leveling and dungeon farming process. And of course, remember to group up your enemies before using AoE skills for the best efficiency possible. Where the other Bard support class prevents damage by focusing on high shield uptime, the Paladin tries to prevent damage by using damage reduction skills on allies and much more. Then at the endgame as a support Paladin, you mainly use Holy Aura to support your team with attack damage buff and a heal over time. So if you're looking for the best leveling, raiding, chaos dungeon or any other PvE content build, then this is the one for you. Okay, so now let's move over to the build itself, and these are the skills you want to have. So then for the first ability we have the Light Shock, and we use 7 levels to unlock the Swift Fingers and Light's Vestige. And then for your rune you want to get the Bleed. Then for the second ability we have the Charge, and this time we use just 4 levels to select the Excellent Mobility. And then lastly for your rune you want to get the Quick Recharge. Then for the next one we have the Holy Protection skill, and we use 10 levels to unlock the Quick Pace, Purify and Vow of Light. And then for your rune you want to get the Focus. Then for the fourth ability we have the Godsent Law, and we use once again 10 levels to select the Shield, Wide Angle Attack and Grace. And then lastly for your rune you want to get the Protection. Then for the next one we have the Executor Sword, and this time we use 7 levels to get the Excellent Mobility and Weak Point Enhancement. And then for your rune you want to get the Overwhelm. So then for one of the last abilities we have the Wrath of God, and we use 10 more levels to unlock the Wide Thunderstroke, Fate and Express Fury. And then lastly for your rune you want to get the Wealth. Then for the 7th ability we have the Holy Sword, and we use 7 skill levels to select the Positioning and Outburst of Light. And then for your rune you want to get the Overwhelm. Then for the last and final ability we have the Heavenly Blessings, and we use our last 10 levels to unlock the Fate, Valor and Absolute Blessing. And then for your rune you want to get the Wealth. Then as well after level 50 for your awakening skill you want to get the A Litanious Judgment. But if you haven't reached level 50 yet, then here's a specific guide on which abilities you should upgrade first while leveling with the Paladin. And then on top of all this, focus on equipping as high item level gear as you can. And then at the endgame you should have 350 specialization and 1250 swiftness. But again, if you haven't reached this point yet, then try to have around 25% stats into specialization and 75% stats into swiftness. Okay, so then the way I would recommend to upgrade this build is at level 50, you will get around 250 points. So this is how your build should look like. But then by doing more and more endgame content you will get more points. And at the absolute endgame, this is how your build should look like with all the 410 skill points. So at the start you use the 256 point build, and then by leveling up and completing quests you will get more points. So just keep on improving your skills and getting higher tier runes as well. So now let's move over to the engravings, and you want to get the Blessed Aura. This engraving will add healing and damage reduction to the Paladin's Holy Aura skill, and this is a very important part of any support build. Then the second engraving is called the Awakening, which will reduce your awakening skill cooldown, and this will provide you more opportunities to shield your allies from specific damage mechanics in PvE. Awakening skills also fill your meter, which will allow for better Holy Aura uptime. Then the next one is called the Expert, and this engraving increases heals and shield efficiency for Holy Protection and Holy Aura skills. The effectiveness increases even further if an ally is below 50% HP. Then for the fourth engraving you want to get the Heavy Armor Equipment, and this will increase your defensives for higher survivability. Then the next one is called the Spirit Absorption, which will increase the attack speed and movement speed by 15%, and it has no downside. And then for the last engraving we have the drops of ether, which generates the ethers that can be picked up by allies to grant attack damage, critical strike chance, attack speed, movement speed, defense, or even mana regeneration. So then in a quick summary, I would recommend to get the top 3 engravings first and then the bottom 3. And then last but not the least, let's move over to your cards, and as a paladin, healing depends on how high or low your HP is. So you want to have cards that increases your maximum HP for the best healing possible. So for the cards you want to get the Manet, Tarsila, Soul Grenade, Braelos, Aporos, and Adrian. In general, these cards are an endgame system for maximizing your character, so you don't have to get them right away, but these specific cards will optimize your maximum healing output in PvE even more. I did bunch of testing for this build and this was the best and most optimized card set. Okay, so then moving over to the gameplay, and if you have played this class while leveling, you will be very familiar with the skills, so I will just try to give you a short description. So the support build for the Paladin class is built around providing teammates, shields, and damage reduction. So the Gods and Law ability provides a 70% damage reduction buff on the targeted area. Then the Executor Sword and Holy Sword is a counter attack skills that rapidly swing your sword, dealing damage and launching the enemies in the air. Then the next two abilities, called the Wrath of God and Heavenly Blessings, are simple damage spells that not only inflict damage to the enemy, but most importantly, each skill will give your nearby teammates a 15% attack power. But remember that these abilities don't stack, so for the most efficiency, use the other build after the first one has run out. Then for one of the last abilities we have the Light Shock, and this will do damage to the enemy, and again, most importantly, after using the skill, you will get an entire party member's 10% overall damage. And this ability has such a low cooldown that you can have this buff active at all time. Then the charge ability is a simple damage and gap closing skill that makes your character charge 6 meters. And then moving over to the last and final ability, which is the Holy Protection, and the skill will give all of your members a shield for 11% of maximum HP. And when the shield gets deactivated, you get plus 8% of your HP. And then lastly, our Awakening skill is called the Eliteness Judgment, and this will do a big damage to the enemies, while at the same time creating a barrier for 80% of your maximum HP for all of your party members in 24-meter radius. So I mainly use this skill when I and my teammates are super low health, or just in general if we get in trouble. Okay, so then usually at this part of the video I would be explaining the best skill rotation, but as you are a support build, you don't have a specific rotation. Most of your ability placement will depend on your teammates and each fight separately. So use the Light Shock skill when your team is ready to deal damage. Then afterwards rotate between the Wrath of God and Heavenly Blessing skills to apply shields to your teammates, but remember that the both abilities don't stack on top of each other. Then as well, use the Holy Protection skill when you're ready to shield and heal your party members. Then for the Emergency Rescue to protect your teammates, use the Gods and Law to mitigate the enemy's big damage skills. Then for you to deal damage and counter attack an enemy, use the Holy Sword or the Executioner Sword. And then lastly, when all of your skills are on cooldown and you have nothing to support your teammates with, then just simply auto-attack the mobs. So now in my last and final conclusions for this build. First of all, make sure you rotate with the Wrath of God and Heavenly Blessing skills, because their damage buffs do not stack. Then second of all, the Holy Sword ability with our selected tripods can counter attack the mob or boss attack from ranged using the projectile. Then as well as the support class, I recommend for you to at the end game understand better and in depth the boss mechanics, so you would be able to precast your skills before allies take any damage. And then lastly, don't forget to keep applying the Light Shock skill to debuff a target for increased damage at all times, and that's about it. So I really do appreciate everyone for watching, guys, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any suggestions, feedback, or other good Lost Ark PVE classes that you would like to see in the next video, then feel free to leave your comments in the comment section down below. If you are interested in the top 3 best PvE builds, or instead the top 3 best PvP builds, then check the link in description or just scroll through my channel. And while you're doing that, please click like, subscribe, and enable that notification bell, so this way you could support the channel and you won't miss any more amazing content from me. With all this said, you have an amazing day and I'll catch you in my next video, so take it easy, peace. Yo, I ain't here